right, the Methuen School Committee is returning from a recess. We learned that there were some issues with the live stream, so out of an abundance of caution to make sure that we were able to allow for folks to tune in, we recessed the meeting, and now it seems that the live stream should be back up and running. So with that, let's take a roll call upon resuming our meeting.
Vice Chair Zoglia.
Yes.
Yes.
Member Keegan.
Here.
Member Soroyas.
Present.
Member Willett. Here. And Member Wilhelm.
Here. Just to recap for the public, we had an approval of the agenda to start off the meeting. We heard an update regarding CPAC, and we also received some updates from leaders of our PTO. So now we will move on to the approval of minutes. We need a motion and a second to approve the minutes for March 23rd, 2026.
So moved.
We have a second?
Second.
We have the motion from Member Keegan, the second from Member Baez. Discussion? There's no discussion. We'll vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Next, we need a motion and a second to approve the minutes for April 13, 2026.
So moved.
Second.
Motions from Member Keegan, seconds from Member Baez. Any discussion? We'll vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Next on the agenda, we have the Strategy for District Improvement, quarterly update from Dr. Golubsky.
Thank you. I'm going to share my screen. Okay. So the committee, you have a copy of this in your packet, but I gave you a separate packet as well, and that separate handout is the most up-to-date. So we've had some new additions to the information I'm going to be sharing today. So this quarter 3 update is a little bit later in the year than typical. We had heard from the superintendent search firms at the workshop in March. So we're at April at this point. Some of this information I thought was still important to share, although some of it may appear a bit dated. So as a reminder, the first of our 3 objectives in our district strategy plan centers on accelerating literacy development and language acquisition across all subject areas. And you'll see the key actions listed aside the priorities. My goal was for, by the end of this year, to have at least initiated all of the key actions in each of our 3 objectives. At this point, we're well on our way to doing that. Today, I wanted to highlight our early literacy high dosage tutoring, our middle of the year benchmark for grades 9 and 10, our continued partnerships from our many vendors that come to us through grant funding. And finally, I wanted to take the opportunity to publicize our Methuen Public Schools Literacy Night. So first, our early literacy high dosage tutoring, if you recall, we were awarded after having applied for that from DESE. We were awarded the opportunity in each of our 4 grammar schools to have our first graders who were reading below what we'll call grade level on our DIBELS assessment to engage in small group tutoring before school. The grant also allowed for us to have an administrator oversee all the teachers who are doing this work. It provided for our materials and support from Springboard Collaborative, who's been great to work with. They provide the materials for the teacher workshops, the parent workshops, professional development. They provide the teachers with essentially what should be happening in each session. And the sessions are relatively small in terms of the student-to-teacher ratio, which is excellent. So we are heading into our final 2 weeks of this 9-week program. And this program uses DIBELS, which we use anyway, the mid-year and the end-of-year assessment to determine if there was growth in this particular group of students as opposed to the control, which would be the students who weren't engaged in this tutoring. So we hope to have opportunity to continue this in the future, although we haven't necessarily gauged the effectiveness of the program with the full analysis of the data yet. I did see in the governor's budget originally there was a mention of this funding, so I look forward to that. Second, I wanted to speak on the Common Lit benchmark assessments for high school English. So these assessments are brand new to us this year. Common Lit is a program that's regularly used by many of our ELA teachers and teachers of other subject areas throughout the district. But this assessment piece allows us to get a gauge on where our students are when they enter the high school or their particular grade level in terms of ELA standards across the board. So again, our first iteration of this, we're hearing that the English teachers like having this data. Many of them specified their goals surrounding this data and which areas or standards they were going to truly focus this year. And I just want to remind you that this assessment measures end of the year grade level status. So if a student is said to be below grade level, we're talking about what that June mark would be for an English 9 or 10 student. So what we would expect to see is students trending up as the year progresses. So this is the grade 9 slide. So the first table, the table at the top, displays the percentage of students who are proficient, which is on or above grade level, right in September. So right when they first came to Methuen High School. So you can see that already 62 students were above 9th grade level, 40 were on grade level. And then there were students who were approaching that end of the year grade 9 status, which we would expect to see because that would be ahead of where they were. And this mid-year assessment was completed in January, and you can see there's a stream upward in terms of students on grade level and above. And then in a few weeks, we'll have the end of the year assessment, which is ultimately we'll be looking at where we'd like to see as many students on grade level or above as possible. And so this assessment is different from the others. I guess most close to this would be the Dream Box assessment for our upper school students, which really just looks at vocabulary in general, reading comprehension in general, motivation, and what they call fluency, but it's measured just by their silent reading fluency, as opposed to this measure, which is standards-based. And this is the grade 10 data. So again, where we would expect to see students at the end of the year. So in January, we had trended upward to 37% from 27. And this is just the one big comprehensive number that I'm showing you here. What's interesting to teachers and while we're giving this is to figure out where are the standards or areas within the standards that we need to help students grow. So that's really the working data that's important to us more than the overall comprehensive piece. And again, we'll see more of that with our end of the year data coming up in a few weeks. So our partnerships have continued. And these are all partnerships that we've established with third-party vendors through grant funding. And so it's free to the district, very appreciated due to the very few administrators that we have to oversee the work. This lends extra eyes and support. Also professional development. At this time of the year, in late April, hedging on early May, we're beginning to plan for next year. And so our partners have been excellent in helping us map out what the year looks like in terms of professional development, what we should be focusing on in CP time, are there limited touch points that we have with staff to develop professionally and also improve student outcomes. And we're also having a mind for where we are in terms of implementation. So with EL education, we've had the program for a few years. We should be in a different spot than we would expect to be with CKLA, this being our first full year. So our partners, again, are TNTP for two of our partnerships, the Learning Acceleration Network and also PRISM. Although PRISM ends this year, I will be applying for the next iteration of PRISM as well. And then our HQIM communities of practice provide us the opportunity to engage with other districts who are at the same points of implementation for EL and CKLA. In Methuen Public Schools Literacy Night, which is now called Building Readers and Building Futures, which is a much better title. This is a project that's been spearheaded by Christine Dumont, our English department chair at the high school, and supported by our humanities supervisors. And really, all of our community partners have been excellent to have in terms of building this night. So whereas in years past, each school has had their own literacy night, and they largely resembled each other, we thought it more advantageous to have a really robust opportunity where it was district-wide and have more offerings. So there'll be booths from Amplify CKLA, EL Education, which is our main curricula in the grammar school. High School English will have a table. The Methuen Literacy Partnership will be there, able to spread their word and also promote literacy. We're going to have a table on the vision of the graduate and what that means and how we can gain even more feedback from families. The Parent University, which I'll speak to later, will be there. The Poet Society, Books and Bagels, and the Blue and White, which are all clubs at the high school. Methuen Media Centers, Eagle Tribune, Summer Reading will have a table, Sealed by Literacy, Poetry Out Loud. We are close to locking in 4 local authors, so I didn't want to advertise their names until we had confirmation, but we're thrilled for that. And then teachers have been excellent about volunteering to do activity booths that are literacy centered. So we would encourage all families to attend K-12. There should be something for everyone, and certainly we'll be handing out books as well. Objective 2, we're aiming to reduce the opportunity and achievement gaps between student groups to improve outcomes, but also opportunities. Some of the moves that we've recently made to that end that I'd like to highlight are the MTSS revisioning team updates, the MyCap planning team, and the unique opportunity, which was the band trip that Ms. Gagnon already spoke about, public participation. So the MTSS revisioning team, you've heard about this group. It's a group that's 40 strong across the district. We're looking to revamp our entire MTSS process and how we execute that entire process, which starts with the referral, recognizing a student may need additional support or isn't growing as we would expect for them to in the typical classroom setting with typical instruction. We're thinking about the interventions those students might need, how we best can meet their needs and the varied needs of all students within a classroom. So at this point, we're mapping out the existing interventions across all tiers and programs, noticing that we do have some gaps in areas of need, and then identifying what it is we plan to do to address those needs. The Cascades platform, which I've spoken about before, which is the platform that's being built for Methuen Public Schools that will allow a teacher or administrator to log on and see one comprehensive profile of each student, encompassing all the data about them, which will help inform the decisions we're making in terms of interventions. We're in phase 2 of that development. So we're working on accurately embedding the assessment data from our various platforms into this one new platform. And so Mr. Crocker has been largely managing this project and has traveled to all of the schools and done mock TSS meetings where we assemble who we think might be on the TSS team. We select a student at random and then use the new platform to see where are the flaws, where are the snags, where are we running into trouble, what do we need to execute more fluidly to make it a truly exemplary system moving forward. So we've gained a lot of information and feedback from that. And then moving forward, we're looking at those more practical changes that need to be made. So who will be on the TSS teams? When will they meet? So we don't have that backlog of students who aren't being visited or revisited as the process dictates over the course of the year. The advantage of having such a big team is we have many subgroups within that team that are able to focus on each of these individual problems. And we really are pleased to say that in the fall of next year, as one of our initial professional development sessions, we'll be educating the entire staff on what this new process is and how to go about using it. Next up is MyCap. So we were awarded another competitive grant, and the purpose of this grant was to simply investigate the use of MyCap and how we plan to migrate from Naviance, the program we've been using, to MyCap. And so MyCap stands for My Career and Academic Plan. So it's a structured, student-driven college career civic readiness framework to make sure that every student, pre-K through 12, gains the knowledge, skills, and experiences in personal, social, emotional, and behavioral, career development, and academic and technical learning to navigate a path to success. And that sounds like a lot, which is why there's a grant to help us plan for that. So Naviance right now we use at the high school. MyCap we're aiming next year to start in grades 6 through 12. And so this is important to Objective 2 because it's going to help us identify our students' needs, but also what their dreams and goals are and how we can help them get there with the programs that we have and how to make sure that they're taking advantage of all that we offer. So we have a district team right now who will be attending the inaugural MyCap Showcase. So brand new, offering from DESE on May 7th. And there will be several presentations. I believe I saw 20+ workshops being offered from districts who are currently using MyCap, trials and tribulations, best practices, how we can begin and really capture all that the program has to offer. We do enjoy Naviance. It's been working well for us. We've been mimicking some of these MyCap features in our CTE program with our designated counselor who serves that group. But after the counselors have played around in MyCap a bit this fall, they're really on board and think this is great. It's also free. So we look forward to using MyCap as well.
Who's on the district team? What kind of representation is there?
So we put it out to counselors at the grammar schools
Okay.
and the high school. We had, the most appetite was from the high school.
Oh.
I think there's a couple in the upper school who had volunteered as well. This particular event is limited to 3 because it's
Oh, that's too bad.
sold out. So we're really negotiating to get 4 or 5.
And I just want to make sure I understand. This will replace Naviance?
Yes, but
Will it be like a rollout?
yes, our contract with Naviance isn't the typical fiscal year cycle. So we do have it through the end of December. So it'll be
Gotcha.
gradual. We're concerned about, for the college application process, Naviance stores our acceptance letters and also our letters of reference. And students have been working on that for several years, so we didn't want to take the rug out from under them, so to speak. So we'll be gradual.
Okay, thank you. You anticipated my question about the college application process. Thank you.
Yes. Just a quick note on the band trip. I think Ms. Gagnon said it all earlier. This is actually one of her photographs she gave me permission to share of our students in Disney World. And kudos to our staff and also our chaperones, our nurse, and Al Delano, who was our trainer, went as a parent chaperone, so that worked out perfectly as well. But I think it's pretty rare that the travel company takes the time to call the high school principal days after the event to rave about how wonderful students are. And so that's exactly what happened, saying that our students were exemplary and enjoyed the experience and were, I guess, true ambassadors of Methuen High School. Currently, we have students at Atlanta for DECA, the DECA Nationals as well. So I look forward to reporting on their progress when they come back. But around the country are being represented this month.
Just a quick question. We do Disney still biannually, right? Or every 2 years?
Yes, every other year.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad we still do it.
Yeah, the theory there is so students have the opportunity to go at least once or twice in their high
in
school
their
career.
Yeah, yeah, appreciate it, thank you.
I also want to make you aware of this new professional development opportunity. This was organized by students from the Methuen Mental Health Parent Advisory Council, and it is entitled Anxiety in School Performance. And so it's a professional development session offered after school hours, available to all teachers for free of charge. We hope that many teachers and staff members take advantage of that, seeing as it was inspired and planned by students, benefiting staff members in their practice and also applicable toward their PDPs for relicensure. So that's a new offering. Thank you to the students that planned that. And finally, Objective 3, the aim to enhance partnerships with students and families. I'll talk about the BRIGHT program, the DESE Student Voice Summit, the College Fair and Job Fair, Parent University, and Vision of a Graduate. So some BRIGHT program updates. This is listed in our key actions, a really important piece of our programming in Methuen Public Schools, ideally something that we would like to expand to all of our schools. Currently we have BRIGHT programs in Comprehensive Grammar School and also at Methuen High School, formerly known as Bridge, but BRIGHT is essentially what the program is. So recently our team took a site visit to Framingham Public Schools to review Compass, which is designed to support youth who are in the care of the state and who are involved with multiple state agencies. And I believe it was last meeting we had heard that the CGS had several students who fell into this category, as does the high school. And it's really a category where we know we need more support, and the students also could use some additional supports as well. And BRIGHT has recognized that and has considered the Compass program. So we went to Framingham to learn, first, could we replicate that? Is this something that we do want to replicate, and how would that work? Considering our current budget cycle, we think that in the future that might be something we'll be able to build toward. Definitely something that we're interested in. But we're continuing to investigate that potential through our partnership with the Center for Juvenile Justice and BRIGHT to make sure that our students placed in group homes in St. Anne's still get the collaborative and robust care that they need. So I know Ms. Proietti, Mr. Crocker, and several counselors have traveled to St. Anne's, most recently on our Professional Development Day, to collaborate with them and to discuss how BRIGHT/Compass might work in our schools across the district. We also hosted some visits, CGS, so DMH and representatives from districts in Ohio came to review the CGS's BRIGHT program, and they were trying to understand how effective Tier 3, which means the most intensive tier, and also general and special education interventions can be developed to support students and to highlight the way that we're doing it at the CGS. So that was a nice honor to be chosen by out-of-state groups to come and learn how we're doing things and to try to replicate that program. In our YPAR teams, that's the Youth Participatory Action Research Teams. We have one at every grammar school and the high school, as well as EPSAC student representatives went to the DESE Voice Summit this year, and it was done a little differently this year than it had been last year in its inaugural year. And we had some of our YPAR groups were chosen to give presentations with a trifold poster in a gallery style. Some led conference style presentations where other groups attended their session. They attended sessions of other students. So it was a really powerful day. The point is to highlight student voice, not just as students providing feedback for adults to make decisions, but more of students being equal partners with adults. And one student Tenny teacher shared with me, said that he found it to be the best experience of his life and a really powerful, moving experience. And also our Mental Health Student and Parent Advisory Council student reps will be attending the Empowering Youth Voices Summit in early May in celebration of Mental Health Awareness Month. Here are some photos of our students at the YPAR event. Also, great representation of our school as well. So again, that was accomplished through grant funding from DESE. The class of 2028 is invited to the Early College Program Information Night tomorrow evening. And part of the goal of this early college partnership with UML, through which we have established the designation, which again also comes with grant funding, is that we really market and advertise the opportunities that are available to our students. And so this is one of those events where parents and students can come and learn how they would acquire college credits while also being enrolled at the high school and earning high school credits as well. So it's for rising juniors, and it's a 2-year commitment is what we're looking for. So targeting right now students and parents of rising juniors, looking at the 2-year commitment there from UML. I've also been in communication with our Northern Essex partners about entering the application process for an additional early college designation, and also not duplicating the efforts of UML, but there's definitely a need where we can run parallel and serve even more students. The College Fair field trip will also be tomorrow. That's sponsored by Methuen High School, where students travel to Boston. I've linked there participating colleges and universities. There's also tips and resources for how students should engage in the college fair. And those days where the students would travel around and spend half their time filling out the card for every single college or university table are over. Now, instead of doing that, each student has a unique barcode for registering, and so they simply go up and swipe, and then they can spend their time discussing all aspects of the college and probably getting some free merchandise as well, which I know they enjoy. And then the job fair, which is brand new this year, spearheaded largely by Member Baez with the help of the mayor. This is an opportunity for our students to learn about job opportunities that may be available to them, hosted by the Methuen Youth and Community Center. So largely featuring city jobs, internships. Member Baez, I'm sure you might want to say a little bit more on that as well.
Yes, thank you, Madam Superintendent, through you, Mr. Mayor. Again, thank you to all the parties for making this happen. This just goes to show how all parts of governments can collaborate together in improving the quality of life of our students in our community. We had the job fair prep session today at the youth center, and it was amazing. I was there for part of it, and very important questions were asked and answered. I mean, I just remember going in and one of the students asked, what am I supposed to put on a resume if I've never had a job before? One parent asked, how am I supposed to support my student and my child during their first job? I think those were very important questions that were answered, and I'm very excited for Thursday to see the interest level of students, but more so the collaboration between all parts of our government and community to come together and hopefully build a tradition that goes on forward in the community for a long time. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Madam Superintendent, and the Youth Center, and all your department heads that came together.
Thank you. Very exciting. Look forward to that as well. I included the flyers as well for both the prep and the fair. And then the long-awaited Parent University is up and running. Yay. So this was a new initiative for this school year. Christine Dumont led the charge on this. So we have two upcoming events that we wanted to highlight. The first is the Literacy Night, which we wanted to use as the kickoff for what will be Parent University also in years to come. And on May 27th, we had an earlier date for this originally, but the provider wasn't unavailable, so we had to reschedule. There's a parent workshop, which is virtual, called Bullying and Power Differential, and that comes to us from Mass Partnerships for Youth. So we hope that we'll be able to advertise that and have many parents understand the dynamics between bullies and victims, the difference between being a bystander and upstander, and also some practical suggestions on how to handle if their students are feeling uneasy or reporting actions which they think may or even may not be bullying to them at home, but things that might be troubling them. So that's on May 27th. Let's see if this, okay, so this is our website from the Methuen Public Schools Parent University, which Christine Dumont had put together. So the goal here was to have accessible information available for parents at all times, and also some special events. So we have the live events highlighted here. You'll also see, I have to move my Zoom link. We also have some always available information for parents. So these are resources that are particularly geared for parents navigating areas that are identified with the various headings here. So mental health and counseling, resources for special ed, some of our curricular resources. And then there's also the opportunity for parents to say what they would like more information on or from. So some of these always available pieces are asynchronous opportunities as well. So we'll continue to build on that, but that's the first draft that's up and running that just came on today. And finally, our MPS Vision of the Graduate updates. So we have given the timeline several times. The last two bullets are most important or most recent to us now. So on April 29th, there's connections lesson at the high school that's focused on the competency definitions for Ranger CAN statements for the MHS students to provide their insight. So we have had the opportunity to hear from the public, and there was a staff meeting in March where we heard from the faculty about these Ranger CAN statements. And now the connections lesson, as you know, that's a point in the school day where everything stops. All the students focus on a lesson in particular, and we're using that to gather feedback from students on what does it mean to embody these different aspects and vision of a graduate. In the spring, right now, the Vision of the Graduate Committee is reviewing those definitions, gathering all this feedback from staff and the community events, and then we'll present to you the Vision of a Graduate for your approval before year's end. So we look forward to that as well. And this has largely been spearheaded by Meredith Moore, Christine Dumont, and Anthony Corrett. That concludes the quarterly. Happy to speak on any points if there's any questions.
Thank you. Questions, comments? Member Willett?
Oh, excuse me. So, just want to say, again, I'll just repeat. Again, the grant is this year to year. And the federal government has multi-year grant opportunities. And it's something we might want to approach to the legislative delegation on, because if it's a successful program, right, that's something that if we are getting very positive rave reviews from collectively students and teachers, administrators, and families, that's something that going down the line, we might want to approach of having a multi-year grant. I know it's difficult because we're going to be year-to-year competition. It's not guaranteed. I don't even know how much that would necessarily cost if we have to incur it as a district. It's pretty sizable to cost. So that would just be something that maybe we could approach the legislative delegation, is that take a page from the federal government, is that in terms of continuity, having a multi-year grant formula, as opposed to every year that we're in competition with other school districts. But I definitely appreciate whoever's involved with the grant applications and the success of that. I know that the mayor is involved with having a grant writer, and that was something in the years past that I approached the prior superintendent, is that just the urgency of federal and state massive competition to have a grant writer. But that was something, too, that if we have a successful program and the duration is only 1 year, then I'm concerned about like multi-year, something to just approach,
Yeah,
you know.
we had this a couple of years ago, then teachers were asking for it again. It wasn't offered through DESE until just January. I believe we got word that we had to reply within 48 hours whether we wanted or not, because funding became available. So sometimes that's a real challenge with the short turnaround of when you find out that you received additional funds or you have an opportunity, and then to get everything off the ground. And there's a lot of logistics that are involved here, so I appreciate everyone's commitment to that. But I agree, multi-year would be certainly easier for consistency and would allow us to get even more students through.
And again, if we want to draft it through the committee, through yourself, to the legislative delegation, that it's been broached, and in terms of continuity, that there should be more of a multi-year federal grant simulation to what the local and state would do. Thank you. Sorry about the mic.
Member Keegan?
For the high school benchmarking assessment data, I'm glad we're doing it for 9 and 10, but would it be too much to ask for our seniors to take it for the grade 10? Because that's what MCAS would have told us, to see exactly how many seniors are actually leaving Methuen High School and aren't at a 10th grade reading level. It would just be good information for us to understand, because I'm concerned that people are saying that 70% of our seniors can't read, and I would like to see the data to prove that, and I don't feel like we have any data to prove or disprove, because we don't ever test our graduating seniors. So I'm just wondering if that's possible, and I don't know if it is, but that would be my ask.
So currently, we do have 11th and 12th grade taking it, but I haven't included that data because it's not everyone. So if they're in AP courses or early college or in other programs that are apart from one of the mainstream courses, it's not really representative of those grades. But we could look at that. I question about the authenticity of the May senior administration of the benchmark, but certainly over time might be interesting. This would take some work, but to track by student, we have measures like PSAT data, which students have taken, or SAT data, or AP data. So there might be different ways of demonstrating proficiency over time. We could brainstorm on that for sure.
Vice Chair?
Thank you. I just have a quick question about the AP program, because I don't think I've seen anything since I've been back. But towards the end of my tenure on the first time around, we were starting to increase the amount of students into the program. The amount of seniors in it today, do you know? Off the top of your head, the percentage?
51% of our grade 11 and 12 students have taken that highly competitive coursework or advanced coursework, of which AP is a part. The AP students individually, I'd have to look in
You still have
my
to be
sheets,
recommended
because
for-
many of them take multiple tests
Yeah.
or courses.
Do you still have to be recommended to take that test?
So there's a variety of ways through which you can become involved in the program. So you could be your teacher recommendation, your grade in the previous course,
Yeah,
or simply your willingness to want to take the course.
yeah,
And if that's the case, if you didn't have the recommendation of your teacher
yeah.
and you didn't have what we'd consider a threshold grade, then you can still take the course if you demonstrate willingness to do so, which would simply be completing the summer work, just like all students are expected to do,
Yeah.
and then showing that you're willing to do the work to become a participating member
But
in the
right
course.
there should also like defunct that 70% right there, in my mind. Hearing 51% that these students are willing to go take the test. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. I was horrible at test taking, and if I didn't have to take the test, I wasn't going to go take it. But for 51% to be the number, that defuncts the whole 70% mindset right there. Am I wrong in that statement, or am I drinking some Kool-Aid here? Because I'm doubting 100% of the 51% are failing it, and I doubt even 50% of the 51% are probably failing it, or just doing horrible in the scoring. So I just want that number to be out there, that 51% of these students that are juniors and seniors are taking these tests.
Yeah, they're engaged in what we call advanced coursework, which is by DESI's label, and they give us the course that would qualify for that.
And also another thing I think I want to just start adding to the meetings is the amount of students that are going into the college program next year. Because you also have to be accepted into that. Or it's not like, I mean,
Into early college program.
correct. Like
There's a
admission
very
process.
thorough process to make sure that there's an understanding on behalf of the students and families,
Yeah,
the seriousness with which they should take the program and what's expected of them.
yeah,
And also there's a seriousness from the district in terms of how we support the students. So we have a staff member who works closely with the professors to keep an eye to see if there's any students who may need additional support, who may need some catching up, to do some of that high school developmentally appropriate work that might not be part of the college. But the scores and the grades that students receive in early college are on a true UMass Lowell transcript. And so when they go to apply for financial aid for their undergraduate or even admission, those grades follow them. And so we want them to understand it. There's a great benefit to it. However, if we find that a student might not understand that and may be putting themselves in a bit of a bind, we try to circumvent that right away. So it's, I guess, a great honor, but also responsibility. And so all students are able to express interest in enjoying the
Are we doing
pathway.
this based off of quarters, or are we doing this, or semesters, excuse me? Or are we doing this for the whole year? Like, if I sign up in September, I'm good through December, and then I have to do it again for January through June?
You sign up once, or you're admitted once for the full 2-year duration,
Okay.
but there are semester-long classes. So we operate on the UML
So maybe
schedule.
quarterly for us, we see those numbers to ensure that we see the numbers increasing, but not decreasing. Because I also don't want students dropping out of it. If I start seeing those numbers, then I would want to understand why.
Right.
I'm not sure if we've had any dropouts into the program. I'm not sure if.
Very rare.
But.
But
as we
that'd be
start
easy.
Increasing this program, again, it's all to defunct this mindset of 70%.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, if we have a good percentage of students doing college admissions programs, going into the college program, and then also taking these tests, I want a good narrative here on true data to the community. And if we have it in our packet every week, it's not hard to just look at our packet and say, hey, it was there. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Sure.
Member Donovan?
Just to build on that, I may have missed it if it's in this package, but where are we with the, I'm looking forward to the announcement of the number of students who have received or earned the seal of biliteracy. should we be getting that information soon? I know it's a process.
You'll be getting that soon, yes.
Okay.
Because we do recognize those students at our awards night
Oh, you do-
in the
okay.
spring preceding graduation. And our graduates who have earned the seal are in a special decoration for that as well. So, sure, I'll add that to the
I think
list.
that would be really good information for us, because it's an important skill.
Member Byas?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was just wondering for the event regarding the parent university, I think it was May 6th. Is there going to be a like bilingual option, parent, person there for parents, or?
Yes, well, LPAC will be there. They've already been invited and confirmed, but we also have our liaisons we invite to attend. We also have put out to many staff members at the beginning of the year an interest survey for if they'd like to be considered an interpreter or translator for any events, what languages they speak, and our testing office helps us around that. We also, I haven't mentioned it yet, but we do also have a grant to support certification for interpreters. So DESE is hedging in that direction. So last year we started a cohort of level 1 and 2. Now we're looking to have level 3 staff members be trained. And so that would essentially mean that, and it's an important thing that sometimes I don't think a lot of areas take enough time to think about. In a technical meeting, for instance, on special education, is the individual proficient enough in both languages to truly be able to convey the messages accurately? And so there's a certification for DESE from that. We also have some funding to try to have a train-the-trainer model where we have a teacher within the district who actually works in the world language department here who would be able to train additional staff members moving forward.
Thank you so much. That's awesome to hear.
Member Royce?
Just to piggyback off of what Member Baez said, that came to mind with the parent workshop on bullying and power differential. Will that be in bilingual languages also, or just English?
That is a real-time virtual workshop. So it's not necessarily the case that we'd be able in that moment to have, we usually go with transcripts or the captioning in the different languages, which is something that we use in the talking points feature from. So I think we could engineer that after the fact. But I know that the Tenney Grammar School is interested in putting on their own bullying parent night, and the students themselves wanted to serve as the interpreters, translators. So they were really excited for that. So that in the real time and in person, it's easier for us to allow for that. But after the fact, after the live event, I think we'd be able to have some opportunity there as well.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or discussion? If not, we will move on to the next item on our agenda, which is approval of the resolution to the delegation from the school committee. This is being put forward by Member Baez. We need a motion and a second to approve.
So moved. Second.
Motion's from Member Keegan, the second's from Member Royce. Discussion, I'll invite Member Baez to pick it up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you. This is pretty straightforward. I think from our last meeting, the committee shared a general consensus on the advocacy that not only we as a body, as individuals, but as a community need to make. So in this resolution, I just make it clear what type of, what amendments would be beneficial and helpful for the district, and letting the delegation know as well that in complement to asking for help for state aid, we're also doing our part as a committee to make sure that we're furthering the interest and the best interest of our students, educators, and communities. So I would just say no resource is too little, no resource no action that can be taken is too insignificant. So despite the fact that conversations with our state delegation is probably impactful, I think that any action taken is impactful in any way, shape, or form when we're looking at the budget season that we're looking at. So thank you.
Thank you, Member Baez. Member Keegan?
I just want to say it's really well written, and I want to thank you for writing it. It's fantastic. Thank you.
Other comments? Member Willett?
I'm just very complimentary of Member Baez for taking leadership on drafting the letter. I think it takes into account the collaboration of ideas from this committee. I'm hopeful and optimistic that the House and Senate will hear our cries that we're in dire straits financially. And I think this was a perfect vehicle. I had done a letter in the past, but I think personally, I think he surpassed the letter. I think he did a phenomenal job on this. I want to commend him.
Any other comments? I'll just echo that. Thank you for your leadership, Member Baez.
My name is spelled wrong, just so you know. There's an E at the end.
Sorry about that. We'll fix that.
All right, if there's no other discussion, we'll vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Next, we have second reading and approval of the Methuen Public Schools Subcommittee meeting recording and public access policy. Again, this was put forward by Member Baez. We need a motion and a second to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Motions from Member Soroy, seconds from Member Keegan. Discussion. I'll let Member Baez to start.
Thank you. I heard everyone's feedback during our first read and enjoyed everyone's support and constructive criticism as well. I brought this forward to the policy subcommittee in one of our meetings and had great discussion, not only with the committee members, but with the administration as well. So with that said, I'm going to propose some amendments. Mr. Chair, I assume that all amendments in one motion would be better than different.
I think would be helpful.
That would be helpful, right? Okay, so the first amendment is striking section 3 in its entirety, effective date. So my motion is to amend section 3 and by striking it, and to amend under implementation, paragraph 2, the sentence where it says, the school committee secretary shall maintain custody of recordings and ensure recordings remain publicly accessible for a minimum period consistent with applicable state record retention schedules. Strike for a consistent with applicable state record retention schedules, and replace with a minimum period of 10 years as advised by a minimum of 10 years. So those are my amendments there. Does that make sense to everybody? Do you? I could repeat that if need
Could
be.
you please? That would be awesome.
Of course. So the first amendment is to strike section 3, effective date.
Okay.
We're going to we're going to motion later on to make it effective once the administration has the equipment.
Okay.
So that's the reasoning behind that one. And the second one is to, since this is a supplementary record, it's not the official record as our minutes, retention laws don't apply the same way. And we were advised by the administration that we could keep these records for 10 years without extra cost to our files being retained at the district level. So those are the reasonings behind those amendments, and I hope that's clear to everyone. So those are my motions. That's my motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
So the motion is for Member Baez, the second for Member Donovan. Discussion regarding the proposed amendment.
So I just don't understand. So we're striking out exemption altogether. Am I correct, Member Baez?
No, we're striking section 3 effective date.
Oh, I'm sorry. So it's, okay. It's the wrong section 3. Got it. I'm sorry. I'm looking at the wrong section 3. I was confused on what we were saying. It's on second page. Got it. We're good.
Thank you.
I got it.
All right. Any other discussion about the proposed amendment? If not, we'll vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. So I'm going to ask for a motion to adopt as amended.
Second.
All right, motions from Member Keegan, seconds from Member Donovan. This would be to adopt as amended. Is there any further discussion? If not, we will vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it, so it's been adopted as amended.
And so now, Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion for implementation to start when the administration has acquired the necessary equipment.
I'm so sorry. We actually just, we approved the main motion.
Oh, okay, so we're good.
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Just to clarify that, So next on the agenda, we have approval of the proposed amendment of the 2025-2026 school committee calendar.
So moved.
Motion and a second to approve. Motion from Member Keegan, second is from, anyone?
Second.
From Member Baez. Discussion, I think this really just reflects the updated budget calendar, but not sure if there's anything.
No, I just noticed that the original calendar was still posted on the website, so to avoid confusion, I just wanted it to be updated to reflect the upcoming dates.
I just feel, as a new member to the school committee, I felt rushed with these date changes. I was looking forward to have May 20th as our last workshop. I just feel like it wasn't enough time to thoroughly go through all of this and come up with any changes. Thank you.
Member Joyce, I just was informed that I had neglected to turn on my mic, so we were just going through parliamentary procedure when it comes to the question. I apologize. And I had stated that, just so the public is aware, when my mic was off, I was just referencing how the only change substantively to the calendar was the updating of the budget dates. Any other discussion? If not, we will vote. Oh,
I'm sorry, I'm off tonight, I think, because you just mentioned that member Royce mentioned we canceled the 20th, right? But there's another meeting underneath it for the 20th.
Which I believe is just a regular workshop.
Because,
The first one was the public hearing.
because we moved it up to the 7th.
Correct.
That needed to be prepared for the 8th to advance to the
Okay.
city.
It was supposed to be the 20th, but it got moved up to May 8th.
So, question to this committee too, because we're talking about this now. Do we want to add potentially one after the 8th for the budget in case the city council sends it back for some reason?
I think that's a great idea.
In preparation of if needed, Mayor?
we could do that, but just keep in mind that after the budget's proposed to the council, the only thing that the council is able to do is cut further.
It's a yay or nay to us. So last year, if you recall, the council voted no to send it back so there was more money allocated to it, not taken out of it. So I just want to be mindful that if we're going to amend these things, does it hurt to throw in a few extra dates after the initial presentation and vote just to have it? And again, it's a if needed. It doesn't even have to be so that we're not scrambling around trying to figure it out at, 48 hours. Just, some of us have daycares that we run at our family homes.
We could do that, but I also want to be cognizant of the fact that if we're amending the calendar, then, we probably need to coordinate those meetings, do with the others. So I don't know if we have dates ready. You be ready with dates?
Or is it a footnote of additional budget meetings may be added
Yeah, I
as
think that's
necessary?
Or something like that, that's fine.
It's probably good to leave it
So you
open.
don't have to amend it again.
I don't think I asked this question, though, Chair. Why was the date moved up so far
For the budget.
for the budget? Why did it go from the 20th to the 7th?
So the budget calendar is established by the city council chair. That's something I had to do when I was the city council chair, and so this is the date that has been provided to us by the chair of the city council.
Thank you.
Any other questions, discussion? Do we want to formally move to include such a footnote, or?
Yeah, I would motion to include that footnote.
Okay.
Second.
Second.
Seconds from motions from member Vice Chair DeZago, seconds from member Baez. Any discussion regarding the amendment? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, so let's have a motion and a second to adopt the calendar as amended.
So moved.
Second.
Motions from member Keegan, seconds from member Saroyce. Any further discussion? If not, we'll vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Next, we have fiscal year '27 budget discussion. There is a document that had been provided to the committee by Dr. Golubsky. Might make sense for Dr. Golubsky to share a synopsis of that memo, and we can engage in discussion.
I invite Assistant Superintendent Goslin and Bozak to participate in this as well. So we have spent time meeting as a central office team and also with building administrative teams to really go through item by item, school by school, to identify where there may be areas for reduction to alleviate some of the pressure in the budget. And this was a process that we alluded to as the first pass last workshop where we met, looking generally at what it would take to keep class sizes still under 26 students, grades 3 through 12. Looking at where we might have retirements, where we might be able to avoid impacting the person and absorb the work in other roles to avoid layoffs. And so what we came up with was a short list of reductions, and I've provided that for you in this first section of bullets here. And we could speak to the rationale behind each if necessary. But first, the Director of Health Services, one of our one-to-one nurses, special education teacher, a special education program assistant, 2 school psychologists, 2 counselors, an Excel teacher, 2 specialist teachers, and 15 general education teachers. So again, dependent on enrollment needs of various school buildings where we felt we could maybe reduce in those areas. So that left us a $1.9 million reduction, which was some progress, certainly not where we need to be, until we also looked at that list of new requests, and we had mentioned previously that some of those were very important to fill for a variety of reasons, and others we thought maybe we'd be able to defer down the line. And so for those new requests, the ones that we felt that we needed to include, those inclusions were to the tune of $1.2 million. So not much gained there. And for your reference, those include special education program assistants, one-to-one program assistants, an Excel program assistant, special education teacher, the radio and TV broadcasting teacher, which is CTE at the high school, bilingual liaison, 2 float nurses, 2 special ed administrators, a CTE supervisor, supervisor of health and wellness, and instead of the STEM supervisor, teacher leader stipends in its place. And so what we did in some of those cases, we reduced what was the original ask, thought how we might be able to share roles between buildings, think about how some of these roles could take on or meet additional needs, take on additional tasks in order to have a savings there as well. And it seemed like today we sat for a few hours with principals and central office team. We went around a couple of times and we had discussed, rather than looking at individuals, should we think programmatically? What are some programs that we might need to do without? That after going through those exercises, we really weren't making an impact in terms of the gap of where we needed to fill. And so it seemed like we were treading water a little bit. And a lot of the things we brought up were to the tune of, we had cut that last year, or we had that 2 years ago and it was gone. So we started thinking the opposite way. Instead of thinking in those smaller cuts to get to the big number, what would be the dramatic cuts that would need to happen in order to get us even close to where we had been. And so we just started tossing around some different ideas. What if it was required in order for us to get closer to that we do have class sizes of 30 plus in grades 3 through 8? How much of a savings would that even be? So if that were the case, that would save us approximately 1.2 million. So that's class sizes of 30. So that alone isn't doing what we need it to do. And we started looking at, we have been looking at special education, but looking, and this is a two-sided document you have, looking specifically at the statutory regulations for sub-separate program assistants, which would mean losing 100 program assistants. That would mean a reduction of $3.3 million. So both having class sizes of 30 or more and meeting those statutory regulations are certainly not what we're endorsing here, because it would mean in those sub-separate classrooms, only one teacher with no PA support, excluding one-to-ones for 8 or fewer students, which is not the model we currently have. We try to have 3 and the teacher currently in those areas. But I was wanting to suggest that even if we did those 2 pieces, that's not even getting us to where we would need to be. So we're looking for some guidance or direction here to help us move in the right direction, while also leaving us in a place where we know our students and staff can be successful and manageable. Ms. Bozak, did I miss? Mr. Goslin?
I do just want to make you all aware that in order to have our public hearing next Thursday, have to have it in the Tribune by this Thursday, which means I have to send them something tomorrow. Obviously, those will not be our final numbers. Whatever I send them will probably be where we are after the 1.9 reduction, understanding that by no means is our final number. So if you talk to Teddy, if you like, yeah, that is where we are right now. That is not where we're gonna end up. But I need to send something to post.
Understood. We'll hear from the vice chair and then member Sois.
Thank you. So, quick question. Is the 1.2 in new positions being deducted off the top? Or are we just not adding that to anything? See, I don't know if the speaker system's working. So I have 9 million in my head that we have to cut.
Yeah, it was about, I would say 9.5, or down to about 7.5.
Well, this is 7.8, so that's why I'm trying to do the math off of nines,
Yeah,
which would bring
7.8,
me to
yep.
5.9 if I take your
Yep.
1.9 and 1.2.
Oh.
So I'm trying to understand, what's the actual number that we are at the gap at right now? Is it 7.8? Is it 5.9?
We cut 1.9, but
Yep.
if we want all those things that we think we need, putting
That's
another 1.2 back in.
That brings 1.2, yes. And then if we deduct another 1.2, that's 30.
That 1.2 is not in the budget.
I'm talking about the next section after that. So there's another 1.2
Oh.
million if we cut another 16 teachers.
Yep.
And then aligning with statutory regulations, we're going to cut 100 positions potentially, and that's 3.3 on top of the 1.2 plus the 1.9, correct?
Your numbers are correct, but I don't want you to think this is our recommendation.
I know it
Okay,
isn't.
just saying, like,
No, I'm just looking,
We were,
this is
yeah,
no one's
we were,
recommendation. No, this is no one's recommendation. I'm
Yeah.
looking at the worst case scenario, which gets us down to not even 0 yet.
right.
So, I mean, I hate to say it, but I would rather go with the doomsday number, because then we need support from the city. And again, I've always been an advocate of, giving money and then working out the problem over the year. But we knew this was coming a year ago. Like, if we're sitting here right now and saying we're shocked about this, again, I can't say I am. Because last year we said the same thing. We can't keep borrowing from free cash to fill the pothole. It's still gonna keep on splintering. And here we are splintering even further. We need an action plan. We have to deal with our current situation, but we need an action plan going into 2027, 28. Like, we can't keep on cutting our organization down to nothing. So, I mean, the question I have here is, Mayor, when we get to a certain number, will there be a recommendation from your office on what we could potentially borrow?
In terms of free cash?
Yes.
Well, the issue is that will depend entirely on the will of the city council. And right now, as you are probably aware, trying to request the
$800,000.
city council to use some free cash to help fund trash pickup is apparently like trying to go about the performance of a root canal without anesthesia. So all of that will depend on the will of the legislative branch of city government to fund that. Now, I think that from what I've heard, just in terms of initial conversation between members of the Finance Committee of the City Council, but also the Finance Subcommittee for the School Committee, that there may be some interest in possibly using some of the free cash for funding, for instance, the Constellations program in order to explore long-term savings regarding special ed. So that's something that I know has come up.
But can I be blunt on that?
roughly $3 million, right?
Yeah, can I be blunt on that? I want to keep that separate. I think that's something we put together a nice presentation and we present that in September and October. So it is separate from the budget. Because that is an actual ask that we're going to need to set it up. This is a budget right now that we're looking at. We need to fund these current positions. I wouldn't want to mix the two.
Well, just keep in mind that free cash is frozen on July 1st, and we typically don't receive word on certification
Until
January, February
February.
of the following year, and then we have until the end of June to make any decisions regarding expenditures out of free cash. So we would just have to keep that in mind, where we can't, say, all right, we'll get to that in October, where that bucket of funding is frozen. Not to mention, we have to determine, as a city council and school committee, what our appetite is going to be to draw down from free cash. Because if we're talking about, say, hypothetically, the funding for the special ed program, is that on top of another ask that might be coming from the body, are you saying?
I would, yeah. I
Well-
would. Investment is separate to paying for our current situation.
Yes.
And I don't think any of us would disagree. Am I speaking for, we need to pay for this budget, and then we also have to pay for an investment. That is two very different things.
Right. Just keep in mind that I can propose whatever the school committee wants to propose as a pitch to the council, but ultimately, the decision will rest with them. And based on what I'm seeing regarding provision of basic services, I mean, we can try, but I can't
We
make that
gotta pay for
guarantee.
basic services, but I can't not pay for basic services because I want to invest into the future of this city with spending another $3 million. I gotta spend $6 million potentially to pay for the budget and then invest. That's where I'm looking at the moment, and I'd rather them go with an unfortunate number to kind of get them to the point where, guys, this is the future of Methuen Public Schools. We gotta invest.
Well, as I mentioned also during the last meeting, we also are going to have to take out of free cash to fund the snow and ice,
2 million, right?
2.5 roughly. we are looking at another multi-million-dollar health insurance trust fund deficit because our claim spend is at 109% of budget this year. And if we had thrown another 5 or 6 million on top of what we had already budgeted for health insurance last year, then that would have been another 5 to 6 million that we would have had to take from schools and from other areas of the city, and that was not an
gonna
option.
happen.
And so we're
So
faced with that.
you're down to 14 million, 15?
We're gonna be blowing through that in a hurry if we don't have
Yeah.
some guardrails in terms of these asks. And ultimately, just keep in mind that this is all gonna come down to whether the city council would be amenable to that. I think that there might be some interest in making some investments, but again, I can't make that commitment from where I sit here. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
So,
just wanted to give my 2 cents.
sure. Dr. Willett?
I think that the critical problem is that we're forestalling major reform. And the council, with all due respect, stalled that process by motioning the table on the GIC emergency provision, the language. And, you know, we need to have the tools. And like I said at a prior meeting, and I've been consistent as an elected official for decades, that we should be joining the GIC. Now, I'm not sure the Boston Foundation for outreach, or if Maggie in her capacity of doing, and I mentioned it last year, of doing a bona fide healthcare analysis of how much savings we would derive as a community by joining the GIC. I would imagine it would cover a substantial portion of this deficit. So at some point, at some juncture, leadership of the unions are going to have to come to the table and concede that we are engaging in deficit spending. And the vice chair raised valid points. In prior years, I never voted for a budget that engaged in deficit spending. And I witnessed prior mayors who would drain accounts that accumulated for like 10 years and lied to my face that, oh yeah, we can replicate those funds next year. You can't. And the worst thing is that if we hit a recession, this community is going to experience massive, massive layoffs. So I just hope that people at home realize that we have to balance the taxpayers and also fulfilling our educational mission. And that's been my MO for the last 3 years. Now, I can't envision supporting a budget that would have 50 to 100 layoffs. And I voted against, and again, I respect what the mayor did. The mayor put forward a reasonable budget, and I differed with him. But what, on the flip side of it, and I don't want to cast aspersions to the council, and I don't want to be negative on the council, but when you automatically say no to a provision that would give you the tools for us to potentially join the GIC, and I really haven't read that language, and then the unions are silent on this, or they're saying no, well, either your leaders of your almost 200,000 members should be like mass protests at the State House, because the amendments that have been filed and the language from the governor and the language for the House, and if you go to mass budget, they might provide us updated information. There's a $7 to $8 million gap on Chapter 70 that's never been accounted for because of massive inflation during the last 4 years. So the reality of the situation is, I received one email, and I responded to that constituent. I sent an email to my state representative to be on record regarding the amendments. I appreciate the secretary and Member Baez and also other members for bringing it into light that we should marshal our resources to the State House. But locally, it's very easy to say no. Or it's very easy, and I'm not going to mention the members from the prior school committee, of automatically approving a budget that was way out of whack. So in 1 or 2 years, the prophecy of the vice chair is fulfilled, because then we have no money in free cash, okay? Absolutely engaged in deficit spending, but I could not in good conscience lay off about 50 to 100 people. We were in the ballpark of talking about that. We whittled it down, and the assistant superintendent will verify, we've laid off at least 24 people. And the mayor has not, fulfilled any of the positions, or he's had retirements, and so there's a void on the municipal side too. I'm not discounting that. But I know I've had conversations with members of the city council, and I know I advocate for the sale of the school buildings and making sure that's dedicated to the schools in some fashion. But you can't use that for 1-year expenditures. It would be maybe to have a facility for the Constellation program, or try to reallocate based on the approval of the special education parents, because they make the final determination, and maybe get some cost incentives back into doing a day program in Methuen. But we talked about consolidation of IT, we talked about privatization, but the biggest obstacle right now is I'm not seeing approval from the council on a GIC. And sometimes you have to make difficult decisions going forward, or you're going to be sacrificing programs in education. So I just want to say that. Thank you.
Member Sue Royce?
I don't even know what to say. I'm sorry that the administration had to come up with this list. That must have been heartbreaking for all of you to have to sit there, and I can't even believe what is on this paper. I will never vote for a budget that's going to include laying off this many people, putting our classrooms above 30, to what, get down $1 million? There's got to be another way. I don't know what it is, but there is no way that I just can't even believe what's on here. I just can't believe it. 15 general education teachers, or we could get rid of another 16 for just 1.2 million. I don't know what the answer is. I don't know where the money's going to come from, but it's certainly not going to come from this list, because it's heartbreaking to look at this. I know you guys don't support this. I know you don't. You had to come up with these numbers. It's mind-boggling, and it's heartbreaking. And, parents and members of the community are constantly talking about bullying, safety for our staff and our students. This is going to decimate the guidance counselors that are on here, the psychologists. When does it end? Does it end when we have 7 teachers in each building, and they're each teaching 150 students in one class? And members say, we knew this was coming. We knew this was coming. Well, why didn't anyone plan for it? Why wasn't it planned for? We have building upon building upon building of new housing, of apartment complexes. Who has figured into, our low income went up 11%. Is anyone looking at that on the city side and saying, gee, our schools, we may have an influx of students. We're building apartment buildings that have 500 units. And now we're talking about building another apartment building on Pleasant Valley Street, and we can't even support the kids we have right now in our schools. Something has to break. I don't know what it is, and I don't think, I think working together, we have to figure this out. I'm not blaming anybody for this, but there is no way that our administration did these 2 lists, and it didn't break your hearts. It makes me sad. Sad for you. Thank you.
Member Keegan?
Yep. So, doing the math, just simple math, if we were to go to class sizes of 30-plus students, and we go to sub-separate classrooms that have 8 or fewer students with 1 teacher, which I can't even imagine that's just dangerous, especially in the sub-separate programs that we have. One teacher and one program assistant for 9 students, and preschool sub-separates with one teacher and one program student for 8 or few students. So if we do that, we are still $3.2 million away from where we need to be. So we've already made the schools unsafe for our special ed population as well as our general ed population. We've gotten rid of counselors and psychologists and people who can come help when the disasters that are going to happen. It's just disgusting. So, but we're still $3.2 million away. So, which school are we closing? Because that's where we're at. We need that kind of money. We're not talking about taking a few positions. We really need to consider closing a school because that's the kind of money we need. And so, somebody's got to say it. Like, that's where we're at. That's all.
Member Donovan?
So Mr. Goslin, we talked last week, or last time we met, any insight, Mr. Well, okay then. Any insight, Mr. Goslin, on the state numbers? I know it's so early in the game. I know how frustrating this is, but
I did speak to a state representative over the weekend,
yes.
and he says that there's supposedly going to be possibly $200 million extra in circuit breaker, $200 million extra in Chapter 70. How that flows out, he doesn't know. However, he did say that we might be sitting better than some other communities because we're a gateway city.
Yeah.
That's what I got.
And the amendments in the House, they were written for us in many ways. We're written for just about every school district. So that's promising. What I'm worried about is, everything aside, the worries about safety, the worries about meeting, our basic responsibilities to educate kids. I really feel we just need a little time. I don't know. We've talked about this very informally. Is it worth it to request to move the calendar just a smooch? I've had some informal conversations with people on city council. Would it help you at all? Would it help the city, Mr. Mayor, if we moved the dates, and I know we just approved them, but if we moved the calendar back just a bit to have a better idea? I'm so concerned how, once again, we are putting our staff, our families, our kids through the grinder. And I know the city side will be just as difficult. And I'm not minimizing that. And I don't think anyone's hiding money on us. I just think we're in a bad place, and we have to deal with it now. Would an extra week or two, is it worth it, or am I just wasting my breath right now? I don't know. I'm just looking for a little way to recognize there's a lot of people that are going to be impacted, and there's still some work to be done. Worth it or not? I'll just go away if you say it's not worth it.
Do I think a week's going to make a difference?
No.
The state's not going to be done
No.
theirs until sometime in June.
Oh,
So,
okay. Then you answered my question.
like,
Yeah, that's fine.
if I thought the state was going to be done in a
Yeah.
week, I'd say, yeah, great, but
Okay, I realize that, but I'm just looking for any little
I know.
glimmer that'll make this very painful process a little more palatable. So that said, got that out of the way, and thank you to the members of the city council who took my calls, and we just kind of chatted about where we are. My question to you, Superintendent, how do you get rid of a one-to-one nurse? Is that, I'm sure.
I thought that question would come up. Ms. Bozak?
I mean, is there?
Through the IEP process.
Okay. Okay, that explains it. Everything on here. Did you get in, could you hear her? Yeah. Oh, okay, okay. The specialist teachers, with that impact, are you making special classes even bigger by getting rid of the specialist teachers? That's where I'm confused.
No, we have been creatively coming up with some unique scheduling
Okay.
to prevent that, which is in its final phases. But the specialist teachers would not mean eliminating any program or course as it exists.
Okay.
But even to that note, when we were looking at programs to potentially reduce, even though we didn't want to, looking at eliminating in the grammar schools what's an entire specialist program would save us $350,000 to $400,000. It's not enough. So by stripping away all these programs, there was nothing. We weren't making up any ground, which is why we shifted to the
Yeah.
more examples of more drastic measures. These again are not recommendations, but they're examples of the extent we would need to go in order to get closer to the number. So the specialist teachers, back to your question, wouldn't eliminate any programs, and we don't believe would impact class size, although certainly wouldn't help without
No.
creative scheduling.
Well, this is what happens when you have not a lot of meat left on the bone, and there's nothing left to cut. Some further questions. The special education program assistance, does this mean we would still be in compliance, but we're changing the model slightly?
We would be in statutory compliance with the regulations as they read, but programming-wise, would be very difficult to meet the needs of the profiles of those students.
Absolutely. Okay. And I'm assuming the 2 one-to-one program assistants are also being removed as a result of IEP changes?
That second category are additions.
Oh, you're right. I apologize. Would those include the program assistant numbers? Would they include, you had proposed getting some program assistants to deal with some serious issues in the lowest school, the babies, issues of dysregulation. Are they included in this? No.
No.
How about the reinstatement of the health
No.
specialists? Okay, well, it's good news, but you can see what's coming down the pike. Okay. The 2 float nurses, how will that jeopardize? Oh, you did explain that at the last meeting. Yeah, I get that, okay. And I just want to say, I'm really sad to see the 2 positions, the CTE supervisor and the radio and TV broadcasting teacher. Those are the 2 positions when we talk about how we, as a public school, can generate revenue in a way because we get extra money.
Yeah, I just want to clarify, the ones that are listed in that middle,
Right.
those were the ones we were looking to
Proposed.
add in.
Yes, totally get that.
So the CTE pieces would be recommended in, but what we did not include, which we eliminated at this point, were those lower school wellness
Okay.
and the risk PAs, even though we did know there was some momentum and support for them.
Oh, okay, thank you.
The principals felt as though they couldn't part with some other pieces that they rely on daily in their buildings, and so we needed to exclude them.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you. I have a thought, a commitment, and a question. Well, the thought and the commitment are the same thing, and this is directly to the community. The Vice Chair spoke about the day program and about the investment being thought of as separate from the budget, which I agree. I do think, though, that due to procedure, it has to be done now, and I'm confident that Assistant Superintendent Bozak will propose a proposal and a plan to us soon to be able to show the benefits of what it would be like to have to prevent students from going out of district and perhaps and hopefully bring students back in, and see the cost savings in the future, especially with the students that are coming up. I think it is absolutely essential, and therefore, I am putting forward my personal commitment to the community that I will fight tooth and nail to lobby this to the city council, to summon a commitment from the mayor to propose it in his budget proposal in the future. But I'm hopeful that Assistant Superintendent Bozak's proposal will allow us to come to a consensus on that in the future. And I'm very grateful for you to work on that, knowing that it was cut last year, from lobbying efforts from Member Keegan and other members for this day program that was just cut. Thankful for the administration as a whole for bringing that up. But this time around, it is my personal commitment that I will not let it go until it is the will of the committee or the will of the council that it be let go, though surely with the plan that we have in mind, I hope that is not the case. So to the community, that, because we do need a plan, as Vice Chair DeZoglio mentioned, we do need a plan, and we need to make bold decisions, as Mayor Beauregard said in our last meeting, with structural reform. So now you all asked for direction. And I think that's what we need to get to, is direction and brass tacks, and say the things that perhaps we don't want to say, but need to say. So with that, to give you a sense of direction on my end, I have a question for you all. And with the 1.9 million reduction, it cuts down the operating budget to 121 roughly. The mayor's number is 113. 114. My question to you all is, how much can we cut to get close to that number where you are not comfortable with the safety of the students and our educators? I know that already it's not, but where do you draw the line in terms of you can't accept that in terms of the safety of our students and educators and community members?
I mean, we're approaching that area. I mean, we're approaching, like, how do you run a school if everyone's just pretty much trying to make sure that you're babysitting? You know, I hate that word, but, you know, if you got 30 kids in the class and you have nobody to watch them if the kid's out, if the teacher's out, it's just, it's going to become troublesome. I don't want to say we're planning for it to be dangerous, because we certainly are not. You know what I mean? Like, but eventually it's going to become troublesome. You know, just being able to do more with less. And every year we try to do more with less, and then we get yelled at because we didn't do more. And then we try to do more with less, and then we get yelled at because we didn't do more. You know, and so we're still there.
So, thank you. The next thing is a clarifying question. So when we approve of the budget, the city council can then no longer add to it, only cut from it, correct?
Correct.
So even if we do a doomsday budget and, you know, we pass it, then we cut ourselves at the knees if more funding comes up, right? Is that fair? True. Okay, that makes sense.
June 15th.
June 15th, which is what we did last year.
Okay, makes sense. All right.
Yeah, it makes for turbulent times, because then you have your loyal staff who have invested in our students, and we've invested in with professional development and learning our system, start to look elsewhere, and then you have all the task of trying to lure people back in when they may feel unsteady already. So it's difficult. To get to your point about the safety of students, we did broach some topics today, some grade level reductions today that some of the principals cringed at, because they know the dynamics of certain grade levels and the size, and they knew it was going to be a tough haul for the teachers in certain grades. And those are included in our top category already. So that's why we felt like we were treading water and not making much much improvement. Certainly the CTE positions don't necessarily impact safety of student, but they impact opportunity and they fund themselves. So that was a trade-off that we made there. But yeah, we're hedging toward that place where we'd like to say that we're going to do the absolute best with the budget that we move forward with. But it's, I think, asking more of people in their individual roles is really taxing when those individuals are trying to meet everyone's needs, and that's when it becomes tempting to maybe look elsewhere, even though you've been here and highly valued for many years. So we're trying to steady the ship.
Just to provide some context, and I think this might be helpful for the public, anyone who might be watching, but just to share some context and a little bit of a math lesson for us in terms of what we're dealing with in terms of the budget, because one of the things that we're going to hear, I know, over the next couple of weeks and months, people will be coming up to the podium and saying, why, right? Like, why are we in this mess? I've heard even tonight, like, why didn't we see this coming a year ago? The thing is that the increases are largely driven by three elements: contractual obligations, special ed costs, and rising costs of transportation. Those are the main three drivers of these increased costs. And so if you look at the cherry sheet from the governor's budget, we have the preliminary numbers from the House on the website at the state level. It outlines everything clearly. It shows that for Chapter 70, in fiscal year 2026, we received $71,034,365 in Chapter 70. Chapter 70 funding for our schools is going up in fiscal year 27. Year over year, the increase is 2.3%, roughly a $1.6 million increase. That's the increase in Chapter 70. Now, if you look at our level service budget, right, in fiscal year 26, it was $110,657,252. To maintain level services, factoring in contractual obligations, factoring in special ed costs, factoring in rising cost of transportation, level service number is going up to $123,210,001. That's an increase of roughly $12.5 million. That's an 11% increase. So when you have Chapter 70 going up 2.3%, the level service budget year over year is going up over 11%. That's where we're looking at a math equation that is doesn't make sense. Like, you can't fit an 11% increase to maintain level services into an environment where state aid in terms of Chapter 70 is only going up 2.3%. And then the question then becomes, okay, where else can we try to supplement some of this funding? And we've had the free cash conversation, as I've referenced tonight and also during the prior meeting. We need to be very careful about that, simply because it's not like we're sitting pretty on $20 million. That's money that accumulates at the end of each fiscal year. If you factor in money that had been budgeted, taxed, collected, but then not actually spent over the course of the year when it comes to departmental operations, city and school. And so, a good example is on the city side. I put out a directive to every department as of April 1st for the last quarter of the fiscal year. We have a budget freeze, where if anybody wants to make any type of expenditure, doesn't matter whether it's for buying paper or buying, say, equipment for the police or what have you, every single request has to come to myself and the CAFO. And we make a determination as to whether it is absolutely mission critical. And so that is going to put us in a position to generate some additional free cash at the end of the year through that level of restrictive spending. So the challenge, though, going forward is that that's never a guarantee, the exact amount and what have you, and we're not going to have that certified until January, February of calendar year 2027. So, we're doing what we can in terms of tightening up spending to generate more free cash, but, we get to a point where if we're relying on it, we rely on it for snow and ice. We're relying on it to fund tipping fees. We're relying on it for health insurance costs. That's why we are having these conversations about, for instance, enhanced enforcement of our trash ordinance, which is something that I committed to doing in terms of bringing on a sanitation coordinator in fiscal year '26. We are still in the midst of fiscal year '26, we're bringing on that person as I committed. That, I think, will be a structural reform to help us maybe reduce some of our tipping fees. Not gonna generate crazy savings, but it's going to help. Even at the margins, it's helpful. Beyond that, we're talking about health insurance. We're dealing with active conversations with the PEC. Right now, in the draft budget for fiscal year '27, we're looking at in between $20 and $25 million just wiped off of the budget in terms of funding the group health insurance line. And so, you know, we're gonna get to a point where, okay, we need some structural reforms in order for this to be sustainable going forward. But the bottom line is that the system at the local level is not designed to support year-over-year increases of 10, 12, $15 million just to maintain level services. And that's the challenge that we have from just a basic math standpoint. So again, we're having to make difficult choices. The city side budget, when that comes out on the 8th, the cuts that we're having to make on the city side are pretty remarkable, and we haven't seen that level of reductions in a very long time. But we're doing what we have to do in order to fit within this number. And I should also mention, as I referenced previously as well, not only has state aid only gone up, say, 2.3% in the context of Chapter 70, federal aid has gone down, and Methuen is a municipality, not to beat a dead horse, but our residents are tapped out when it comes to what they're paying in terms of bills, taxes, and the like. And so an override, I'll say, again, just an absolute non-starter. That's going to come up as well, I know, during some of these conversations when we hear in terms of public participation from folks. It's not going to fly. It's a non-starter. So we're doing what we have to do, and it's terrible. I don't support anything that we're talking about on this list in terms of reductions. I think it's terrible. But at the same time, we need to make that work. Here we are. Member Bias?
Thank you for that, Mr. Mayor. I just want to be cognizant of the ask from the administration on what we're asked to do. Member DeZoglio pointed it to a doomsday number, I think was the term that you used. So I'm looking at the numbers, and if we do the 1.9 million plus the 1.256 with the class sizes of 30, that brings us down to 120, and then the 3.3 would bring us down to roughly 116.8 or something like that. We have to give Ian a number to go to the paper to meet our requirements for Thursday. So I would just like to entertain the conversation on getting a number from this committee, whether it's the 123, the 120, the 116, or I mean, we don't even have a budget that's 114, but we need to get a number, and I'm cognizant that if we do the, let's say 116.8 or this is just rough numbers, that's 142 layoffs. Just with the class sizes of 30, not including the 100 program assistants, that's 42 layoffs. Because your original, that 1.9 included 26 and the 16. So unfortunately, we're gonna have to give Assistant Superintendent Goslin a number tonight to go in, and none of us are gonna want to vote on it or motion for it, but we have to make the decisions. So for now, not to say that this is the final number that will happen, but just to give a number out there, I propose we increase class sizes for now.
Just to clarify, in terms of specific numbers, so the fiscal year '26 budgeted number was $110,657,252. the number that we're at in terms of trying to fit within the limitations overall, factoring in the city side as well, the number that I had shared with the superintendent to work with was $113,976,970. That's roughly a 3% year-over-year increase, fiscal year '26 to fiscal year '27. So that is the number that I provided to the school administration, just for the sake of discussion, consideration. Member Keegan?
So my proposal is the number that we give Mr. Goslin is 113,976,970, because that's the number that's going to the city council. It doesn't matter if we vote something higher than that. The number that's going to the city council is the number the mayor gives us, and that's the number we have to figure out. And so I say that's the number, but that's what we need to post. And how we get there, we don't need to tell anybody that at this point, right?
We need to give a breakdown in the Tribune on,
Oh, God. Okay, sorry.
I mean, I'm more comfortable going with where we are currently, knowing that that's not our ending
Have to go
spot.
down.
But I can at least break it down by professional salary, clerical salary, you know. Well, after the 1.9, I'm at 121,798,
121.7, yeah,
344.
Can you repeat that? Sorry.
121.7.
I'm at 121,789, 344.
Your number's the doomsday. Without any other additional numbers from the state or from free cash or any other means of revenue, his number's the doomsday.
Yep.
So I mean, it's not like last year's. And again, I want to add one more, Mayor, through you, sorry. You know, last year, there was like 70 actual positions that were going to get cut, people, if I recall. And then there was like 40 other additional positions that were like on a wish list. I know we said it, Band-Aid it last year, and why did we not think about it this year? Your number's at 62 right now. If we keep it at the 1.9 right now. If we bring it down more, it's exactly where we would have been last year if we cut all those positions, plus more this year. It's just, unfortunately, it's the right sizing number. We never closed the gap of what we gave last year. And let me just finish this thought. What I really think we need to do is there any way of going back out to any of these contracts that we have and rebid them? I mean, it might not patch this year's problem, but like anything with busing, anything with any of the. Well, I'm just saying, is there anything we could do from a procurement person to rebid and see if we can lower some of this? Any rebate money, KPIs, any SLAs that they're not meeting that we can go after them on? Or could we even go down and say, hey, non-mandated positions or non-mandated programs? I know, I feel like we're already draining those, but maybe that's what we cut before general ed. I mean, theater art, I've always said is mandated. That's mandated. But I'm talking about, do we start charging for sports? Do we start charging for buses for, you know, sophomores or freshmen through seniors? Okay, we're already losing them to charter schools and private schools right now. Well, I mean, I hate to say it. We got to look at the other avenues that we're not even touching yet, folks. Do I save 10 teachers by charging for sports? Do I cut 10 mandated, non-mandated programs and save general ed? Like, that's the stuff we need to think about here. Not like, where do they need to go? Not like, go figure it out and tell us the worst case scenario. Like, I want to like throw that TV through the window right now. Believe me, because I've been saying this for the last 3 years, unfortunately. That's why I came back, is because I knew this was going to come. We need to make some tough decisions. Do we start charging for sports to save 5 education teachers? And then, hey, parents, You want us to stop charging for sports? Let's do this day school program. Let's get everyone on the bandwagon there and start bringing back some of those resources that we were giving away for free. I need everyone to understand, we gotta make that tough decision. So, I mean, if we gotta look at what it would cost us to start charging for some of these great programs, we gotta start thinking about it. Charging for busing, to save 3, 4 teachers, whatever it is, I'd rather do that than keep on gutting and gutting. I'm sorry.
I'm trying to reconcile here, and I don't want to belabor the point. So I want to clarify. Last year, we should have cut 50 to 100 positions. Is that what you're intimating as the vice chair? Because we should have we made tough decisions the last couple of years. We laid off at least 24 people, if not more.
We're not saving jobs if we're cutting every year another double
You
amount.
bought us some time because what the factor is
Bought
the
us time
state.
and we're checking in that ticket now. Okay? Yeah. I mean, I hate to say it, we kept on Band-Aiding it. Yeah. That's what I say, yeah. Last year, we said it on the floor. Here's 4 million, now you gotta figure out we have to figure out how to make up that 4 million. We can't continue to ask for 4 plus the inflation amount, which is another 2 or 3. Like, I know, I didn't go to economics school, but I run budgets for my company, and I see the inflation amount every year. I said this years ago.
But the problem, and all due respect.
And I'm saying this respectfully,
honestly,
I'm not yelling at you.
Honestly, in all due respect, I had to correct a former chairman of the city council who went online and lambasted us that said we had top-heavy administrative costs. So I had to refute that automatically. That's a false narrative, and we are stretched to the limit administratively, okay?
I'm saying
trying
cut
to
administrators.
find out what in the last 2 years has the city council constructively provided us with tools, okay? They do lip service at times. And again, it was a balancing act. We had a coalition. There were 2 members that said automatically the former superintendent, they were in favor of her budget that would have zonked free cash, okay? Massive deficit spending. And then the mayor had a reasonable budget, and we had to really just override him because it was a balancing act, because we were projecting 50 to 100 people, roughly. It went down to about a dozen. And I have to emphasize for the record, the state senator delivered at the end with the circuit breaker. The problem is the supplemental budget, which is kind of like a deficiency budget for fiscal year 26, right, still hasn't been resolved. The Senate would provide us a higher number on the circuit breaker. Now, back channels, we have the state representatives talking to us about $200 million potentially for circuit breaker and $200 million for Chapter 70. And you went to a forum in Haverhill with local teachers, and then the MTA has been marshaling its resources. The millionaire's taxes, the millionaire's taxes, I said, other people went. I'm just saying you went to. I'm not saying like
The mayor
other
went too.
people.
Okay, I'm just saying.
The royal we, you guys went to that forum. What I'm saying is that the MTA promised us the millionaire's tax. It's not going to K through 12 like it should be. There's a surplus with the millionaire's tax that's going elsewhere. There's an interest that's been accumulating with the surplus overall that's going elsewhere. So when you talk about the federal grants, right, and holding harmless, I'm not seeing any provision right now. I'm not seeing any provision with the millionaire's tax in greater parity. I've been saying that for the last 3 years. So, like, again, with all due respect, I know people went to that forum. I know you went to that forum, right? Okay? I'm not seeing where the rubber meets the pavement on, we're crying out to you, and you have the Mass Budget Association and Pioneer Institute saying the same thing, and a PhD in economics from the Haverhill School Committee saying the same thing. So when all of a sudden they say, well, why are you guys surprised? They said, we haven't been surprised for the last 2 years, you know? With dearly departed Mayor Perry, we had the same problems when I came back to the school committee. We had to lay off. We had the assistant director of facilities. We had to lay him off. We had the concrete positions that were laid off. Last year, concrete positions were, and then the STEM, when you were on the school committee, I bet you probably talked about the STEM supervisors. Okay? So at that moment in time, right, was that position fulfilled? No. Has it been fulfilled now? No. Is it going to be down the line? No. Are we needed for that to help with our kids? Absolutely. So, I mean, I don't want to get into an adversarial relationship with the council. I'll sit down with them, I'll have conversations, but let's not pretend that they're interested right now in any type of reforms. I'm not seeing it from them, especially if you advocate for the GIC, which you and I have been doing for a long period of time. How about the other councilors?
So, once again, Mr. Goslin, when is this due to the Tribune or the newspaper?
Tomorrow by 4.
Okay. In all fairness to the work being done here, I'd like to make a motion that we use the number that you have just suggested. All the work is already done, correct?
Correct.
I don't know what else we do. We need to move this discussion forward.
Second.
Right. Myself and Lisa and Gina and the crew, we'll go do a rough go-through again tomorrow morning, and we'll put out what number I'm comfortable with, not as a final number, but where we are at this date. Last year, our public meeting, we had our public meeting before we had a number as well. So as long as there's something that goes out there and that they know where we are, they can come speak, we can adjust the numbers accordingly afterwards, or in the meantime. So,
I believe there was a second.
So we have a second from Member Royce. All right. Discussion. I think that this is simply an exercise of getting this in the paper.
Yeah.
Just a clarifying question.
Everybody?
Just a clarifying, that's the number with the $1.9 million reduction, right? Or is that just the 123?
you have to repeat that.
Is that is the number that was just motioned with the $1.9 million reduction?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
121, 789, 344.
Okay, thank you.
Now, if I find
Not the final number.
that
Right.
something's a duplicate in there, or we adjust it a little bit, it might be a little bit different, but that's pretty much where we're gonna be, around 121.
All right.
Okay.
Any other discussion?
Just one.
Yes.
Is there, so you present your number to the city council. Is there any reason why we have to allocate the money that's given to us before the city council? Are there rules that say that we have to do that?
So the challenge is that I have to present a balanced budget to the council. So it has to fit within the confines of the broader budgetary context, so to speak. So that's where I'm at with the 114.
Right, no, I understand that, but like, we know that we're probably getting more money in June, right? And so if we wait until the state is ready to decide to allocate, I mean, I know that's actually, that's gonna be after the June 15th, now that I think about it, so it's not gonna matter. We need to send pink
Yeah, that's
slips.
the challenge.
Okay.
We have the June 15th issue, but also, let's keep in mind too, that given the calendar, the new budget calendar for fiscal year '27, we're going to have an adopted budget, I believe, going into the month of June.
No, I understand that, but like, we get your number for the city is decided, but how we allocate it, the money that we have, is what I'm saying is, do we have to decide that before we find out how much more money we're getting from the state? And I guess the answer is yes, because of the June 15th date.
All right, so if there's no discussion, we'll take a vote on the proposal, just to provide Mr. Rosalind with the number for tomorrow for the Tribune. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? You guys have it. Next on the agenda, well, so we're still in the midst of this budget discussion. Does anybody have any last thoughts before we move on?
Question about the GIC. Is there a deadline for you to be able to join the GIC? Is it like,
So
There is.
they run, in essence, in 6-month cycles. So at this point, if hypothetically in partnership with the PEC, and of course, I shouldn't even say that, if hypothetically the city council were to vote on adopting the state statute, that opens the door to having that as an option on the table. Hypothetically, if beyond that, we get to a point with the PEC, simply because, given collective bargaining frameworks, they're involved in any health insurance conversations, we would have to imagine that at this point, we wouldn't be able to get in for July 1st. It would be at the earliest in time for January 1st, which, of course, half year would still be significant savings in all likelihood. But again, this is going to rely on the city council adopting the provision that opens the door to simply having it as a button to push on the dashboard, so to speak. But then, we would be looking at, and if they did pass that, January 1.
and then what, I'm sorry, just one more question. What happens to people that are in the process of having treatments, or, like, how does that work? You may not even be able to answer that right now, but, I mean, is it just a one big swoop, everyone goes to the GIC, and you hope everything's being covered that you're currently having done?
That's one of the logistical challenges that would have to be addressed if hypothetically the city council were to vote yes on adopting that measure, but beyond that, going through that more extensive process in partnership with the unions.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? If not, next on the agenda, we have any other business from the committee? Do we have any other business? Member Donovan?
I have a question. Do we have a safety committee?
We
Didn't we
decided
talk about it, but it is
Collectively.
collectively,
Okay.
we're going, didn't we agree to add it to public safety executive sessions?
We agreed to add it on either side of workshop dates,
Okay.
but our workshops to date have also had executive sessions adjacent
right,
to
right.
them, which has caused a little bit of a challenge there. But it was on my list for May,
Okay.
because we do have updates to share.
That would be awesome.
That reminds me that with former school committee member Kristen Maxwell resigning, I believe that we need to have a school committee member on the wellness committee as well. Now that obviously she's not here, we need to appoint someone at some point. Thank you.
Any other?
I just want to say that I attended the civics presentations today at the cafeteria here, and they were fantastic. Those students are amazing, and I just want to celebrate the amazing things that our kids are doing. So I just wanted to give them a shout out.
Absolutely.
And I just had one thing to go along with that. I'm hoping that in the future, Superintendent, that we can invite the city council to come to these events. They're fantastic events, like Member Keegan said, and I believe city council, it would benefit them to come to these displays and different events and see how great the kids are and what they're doing. Thank you.
I believe in my last mayor's report, I have a section regarding upcoming events. Yeah. Any other business from the committee? If not, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motions from the vice chair, seconds from member Royce. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. The time is 8:56, and our meeting is adjourned.